Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. You're watching Muharram Q&A. I'm your host, Muzaffar Abbas Hyder. Our condolences to you on these sad days, on these days of grief and mourning for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. You can follow us on our WhatsApp and Twitter. You can see the details coming up on the screen right now. Here in the studio, we have a very special guest with us, Sheikh Ali. Sheikh Ali, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thanks for inviting me.
Now, to open up the discussion, I have a question for you. It's about this title that we give to Imam Hussein, Thar Allah. Thar Allah, I believe it means the blood of Allah, literally. So if you could just shed some light on this, what does this mean? Like, does Allah have blood?
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Well, first of all, my hearty condolences to all the believers, to all the Muslims, to all the justice seekers throughout the world who are commemorating these days in the morning of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and the household of the Holy Prophet, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Thar Allah, if you look at the word, it has a literal meaning, which of course is the dictionary meaning, and then it is a title that was given to two of the Imams, not just Imam Hussein alayhi salam, but this title was also used for Imam Ali alayhi salam. Thar Allah has two meanings. One is vengeance of the bloodshed is upon Allah. This is one of the meanings. That the vengeance of the blood that was spilled on the lands of Karbala, that vengeance is upon Allah.
So,
and the other meaning is that it's literally the blood of Allah.
So, I just wanted to ask about that. So in Islam, we have this concept that if somebody is killed, the blood money has to be paid to the family and loved ones.
Right.
Is that the same? Is that?
Yes. Well, now this whole vengeance of the bloodshed is upon Allah. This can be interpreted in two manners. Right. One is that blood money that you're referring to. The other is that the revenge will have to be taken from the oppressors who oppressed Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Now, it's not just confined to that, because remember, Imam Hussein alayhi salam is not just a person who was martyred on the plains of Karbala. Imam Hussein alayhi salam is an ideology, an ideology that is very much alive. He is the epitome and that symbol of that war between good and bad, the haqq and batil. So what we say essentially is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Creator, the Lord, He is the one who is going to take that revenge. And we will talk more about how He will take that revenge. But there are these two meanings. The other meaning, which is the dictionary meaning, which we mentioned before, the blood of Allah. Of course, in Islam, we do not believe in Allah being a physical being. He doesn't have a physical body. He doesn't have those physical attributes that human beings or other animals, for instance, do. He doesn't have limbs, he doesn't have blood, he doesn't have lungs, he doesn't have, eyes, so to speak. So whatever these terminologies are used in context of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it really has a metaphoric meaning. In this case, when you say that Imam Hussein alayhi salam is the blood of Allah, this means he signifies the blood which is pure. He signifies chastity. He signifies and symbolizes, for instance, something that is valuable, that is noble, right? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is munazza, and He is free of all the evils and all the bad things, right? So when we talk about Allah, we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above and beyond any quality and attribute that anybody can possess. So when we say blood of Allah, that actually goes with that particular nobility of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the other meaning if you were to take it literally.
Right. Now, I was actually watching Mukhtar narrative the other day with the family, and there's a line in there where he says, this Umar ibn Sa'ad, he's khune khuda ra rikht. He shed the blood of Allah on the earth, and it was like,
again, it's a metaphoric use, right?
Okay.
It's something that is to be signified that it was valuable. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most valuable being in our lives in the universe, right? So when you want to refer to something valuable, this is one of the expressions used in Arabic language to signify that.
See, as I was growing up, these things didn't really make sense to me about, like, you know, they used to say that the skies rain blood,
Right.
that there was blood found under rocks and stones, and that, you know, the heavens weep, the angels weep.
Right.
And there's even a hadith that tell us that every creation of Allah was weeping for the sake of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. These things didn't really make sense to me, you see.
Right.
Now,
if you look
in
at the
this
traditions,
context, yeah.
right? If you look at the traditions and how the ulama of Islam, they have explained these concepts, and even Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam, don't get it confused with that it's all metaphoric. Some of it is real. The animals, they recognize the Imam of their time.
Okay, yeah.
So when we talk about animals weeping, you know, that's something that symbolizes a reality. It's not just, you know, something metaphoric in nature.
Allahu Akbar.
So there are different levels of expressions that are interpreted in different ways in Arabic language. This particular thing you mentioned, you know, animals weeping and even the angels coming for the help of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, it's a physical phenomena. It's not something metaphoric only, right?
Right.
Now, again, there are some things, for instance, when we say Yadullah, the hand of Allah, we know in the light of our belief system that Allah does not have a body. Allah does not have a physical limb, right, that is called hand.
No.
Right? So when we say Yadullah, what does that mean?
The authority of Allah.
The authority, the
power
strength,
of
the
Allah,
power
right.
of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Similarly, Ainullah, right? All of these attributes that we associate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's a very clear understanding that these are metaphoric in nature,
Subhanallah.
right? And
you know,
they
when
symbolize
the
a concept.
Quran or, you know, our literature describes Allah as the all-seeing, the all-hearing, it's not our type of seeing, it's not
Right,
our type
exactly,
of hearing.
Exactly.
Allah is
Exactly.
hearing without having ears, He's seeing
Exactly.
without having eyes.
Exactly.
So going back to this concept of Thar Allah, and you mentioned the vengeance, I wanted to expound on this a little bit. So in the West, vengeance is actually seen as a negative thing. It is actually a negative thing in the West. And you'll see that they actually propose this idea that vengeance is for selfish purposes. It's not justice, basically. Because justice is to do something almost cold-heartedly. You're doing it because it's the right thing to do. You have no emotions connected to it. Whereas vengeance, there's an emotional factor to it, and therefore it's not just. What do you say about this?
That's a very
What
good
do we say?
question.
Yeah.
If you look at the Westerners and their philosophers and their think tanks, what they have done is they have hijacked many of these concepts and they have separated it into the selfish human being and the theoretical human being.
Right.
And when they come to the practical arena, they assume that the human being is a selfish being and that's it. They do not have that concept of a complete human being. They do not have this concept of insani kamil, right?
Right.
Based on that, they say that vengeance is always for selfish and personal reasons, self-centric reasons, which is not the case. If you look at vengeance, the concept of vengeance or taking revenge, it's very natural. It's built into human nature, but it could be because of different reasons. In Islam, what we believe is that vengeance is based on justice. We do not believe in vengeance where we minus justice from it. We cannot just go and oppress anyone because we were angry or mad or we wanted to, like, you know, get something from them as a result of something. No, it has to be a justice-based vengeance. When we say justice-based vengeance, we see that even in the war zone, Islam provides us with the rulings of having a battle. You know how the West says everything is fair in love and war? Islam is actually completely against it. No, it's not fair. We do things based on justice. We do things based on regulations, rules, right? It's not all blind. Let it be love, war, or anything normal. So when we talk about the vengeance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the most just. He is actually the source of justice.
Allahu Akbar.
Right?
Right.
So His vengeance cannot exclude justice by any means, ever. And this is where the Westerners have a hard time thinking about this concept of vengeance, and they have inevitably associated this whole selfishness aspect to it, the negative connotation with it, because they're forced to. They don't have the concept of isma, they don't have the concept of prophethood the way we do, the concept of imamat the way we do, the concept of, for instance, the complete human beings, God-fearing human beings the way we do. So they were inevitably stuck in there, and give it a negative connotation.
In the Western world, actually, now that you mention it, you do see these two extremes. So either they'll be like, they'll take the pseudo-Christian narrative, which is, turn the other cheek. If somebody slaps you on one cheek, just turn around, give them the other cheek, slap this one too. And then you'll see the other extreme, which is just complete barbarism. There's no real justice in the vengeance or anything. When it comes to this whole concept of an eye for an eye, like if somebody is hurt, then this, because you mentioned that it was a natural process, that somebody would want to avenge something bad that has happened. There is this saying floating around that, an eye for an eye will make the world blind.
Well, this is true from their perspective. Why? Because again, they don't have the concept of divine justice system. They are just focused on the lowly animalistic desires of human beings. They don't have role models. And this is why they say that, okay, if we were to take vengeance, then everybody would get blind, because now everybody's lost their eyes, right? Based on their philosophy, yes, it makes sense for them. But it is incorrect, because their foundation is incorrect. They are not struggling or striving for justice-based divine government of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
That's not their purpose, that's not their aim.
This is where the problem is, right? As soon as you exclude that from the politics, from your policy making, from your anything that has to do with authority and control, you have no option but to oppress others.
Allah, that's
right. So this is why they are stuck in a quagmire, and this is where we invite all our non-Muslim brothers and sisters as well, that you need to look into the divine religion of Islam. You need to understand the value system of Islam, the principles of Islam, and once you see it for yourself, you're going to be attracted towards it. Yes, it is ideal. Yes, it is something that you can say is very utopian world, and yes, we are seeking for that utopian world that is possible to establish on this earth, right? That the governance of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, the governance of the representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who runs this world based on the principle of divine justice. Yes, we're looking for that utopian world, and we believe that if the Muslims, non-Muslims, other faiths, they come together to this one centric point, that we're looking for that divine justice-based government system, I think we can make this world a better place to live.
30 seconds, Sheikh Ali, if you could just summarize the vengeance of Allah, in what form will it take?
Well, it actually connects beautifully with the last point I just made, the reappearance of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. He is actually called Ya Latharat al-Hussein.
Allah.
When you talk about the concept of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, he is the one who is going to be taking the revenge of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. One may ask how. He's not just going to go around and dig the graves. That is in its place. It's mentioned in the books, But the real thing is, he's going to free this world of the oppression and tyranny that it's going to be filled with. So he's going to fill up this earth with justice and equity.
Subhanallah, subhanallah. Ajil farajahum. Dear viewers, we hope you enjoyed the show today. We're praying for the zuhur of Imam Zaman, and in these days of mourning and grief, let's remember Imam Zaman and remember that he is also grieving with us. Do contact us if you have any questions or queries, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter and WhatsApp. From myself and Sheikh Ali, we bid you Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.